Yeah.
So how did how did the ad account change when you enter Underoutfit? Like, what do you see in the ad account? What changes do you start implementing to start applying this method?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, like we were talking about before, is like finding the one piece. And so that brings us to the second part of it, which is now focusing the machine at doing the one task of greatest value. And so here it was go from however many products we're promoting down to making sure that over 90% of every penny that was spent was on one best like offer. In our case, it was a comfort shaping bra. Um, and when you start to use dynamic creatives to leverage Facebook's machine learning and AI, and you start to use broad targeting, so you're not paying extra to make sure that the best people don't see your ad. When you start to treat Facebook like a business partner who you respect instead of somebody that you decided to go into business with that has told you exactly what they need, that you're in a relationship with where you give them a lot of money and you don't see the results you want, so you like curse them constantly, even though your best operating procedure is to completely disrespect everything they've ever said. You start to work through if an ad gets spent in a CBO and DCT environment abroad, it's meeting Facebook's business objectives. Facebook marketing is as simple as two things. Facebook wants attention. You want money. If earning attention brings you money, you're doing a good job. If it doesn't, it's not good. Anything you do to get in the way of that is counterproductive. So when we simplified the ad account down to the one primary thing, I mean, we're running some other stuff, like just trying stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we focused on dynamic creatives to just let Facebook pick the best thing. It wasn't the first ad out of the gate, but like a couple months in, we happened to have an ad that for whatever reason seemed to hit. And over like the next 2-3 months, that one ad spent like $2 million. I think it was like 1.8 million on one ad. And when we started, we were making less than 1.8 million like a month. And we were able to spend 1.8 million on that one specific ad over the next like 90 days. And the brand just scaled massively because of it. And the point is, that ad, honestly, too, for what it's worth, was like made in the slideshow editor on Facebook. It was nothing other than like a video version of a carousel of static images. Like, and it wasn't luck though that got us there. It was every step of that had been tested. Like, what are the right pictures? What are the right, headlines? What are the right words that make people interested? And it was iterative testing, moving closer and closer, and then just something stuck. And honestly, the reason it stuck might have been luck. Maybe somebody happened to say, oh, you know what, this product is great. And then the next person 5 minutes later said, yeah, it is great. And I got my product in 2 days because the shipping is awesome. And then the next person said, yeah, and their customer service is great. And just that day, it happened to hit the right, like, couple thousand people or whatever. And the comments just started to stack up and the thing just took off. The point is, you can't control that. But that luck happens because you are prioritizing the user experience and the machine to deliver the ads to the right people. If you're using audiences or promoting a bunch of offers or trying to do individual posts over and over and over again to try to get lucky, the likelihood of you hitting that goal is a fraction. It's so exponentially smaller than saying, hey, Facebook, we're going to let you do whatever you want with this stuff. And as long as you spend and our bank account goes up, we're great. And we're just going to do everything we possibly can to make you happier and happier. And as a result, our bank account's going to get better and better. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of time. Like, how long will it take for you to get to that ad? In my experience, it generally doesn't take more than a couple months to get to some ad that fundamentally changes the entire landscape. And also, it's not about how many ads you test. It has nothing to do with the volume of ads. It has everything to do with the volume of data Facebook gets to know who to show your content to. And I'm wholly convinced that literally any ad that you build could be that ad that you can spend a couple $1 million on. The reason that in a different world, in a bizarro universe, that one ad could spend 10 million, but in you it spends $1,000 and doesn't work, is because you didn't invest in getting Facebook to be smart and understand who to show that ad to. So the really enthusiastic and engaged users didn't see that ad often enough to engage with it in a way that made other people excited. And you forced your opinion onto a platform that doesn't care about your opinion at all. You were running Facebook like it was Google in 2013. Like, if you're still using audiences and cost caps and bidding models and trying to hack all of this stuff, that is a decades old best practice for a completely different platform. And those people generally don't get that winning thing. Occasionally they do, but if you use the Facebook system, the platform properly, if you use Facebook properly, the likelihood of you hitting that is basically 100%. It's just a matter of doing it enough and prioritizing it.
So,
And again, like, I've seen the ugliest ads in the world be the absolute best. Like, I paid a Kardashian $100,000 for an ad, and I had it got beat by the receptionist taking a picture in the kitchen when I was working at 310 Nutrition. Receptionist picture made us $10 million. Kardashian cost me $100,000 to get Kris Jenner to take a picture, probably cost $85,000. Like, you have no control over what's going on. So the things you need to do is let the thing that has control have the best opportunity to be successful for you.
so you said a couple of things that I think it's really interesting, but it may be good clarifying, which is, you said maybe we don't have to test volume of creatives, right? But with time, on the other hand, we are gonna get lucky, quote unquote lucky, because we're using machine learning to put data on these ads.
Yeah.
How,
I mean, yeah.
so if, for example, if I'm a brand right now, listen to this, let's say that I have, the typical 3 campaigns in my ad account, right? And in each campaign, I maybe have a couple ad sets in each campaign. And in each ad set, I have multiple ads. So already there's a lot of places where my spend is going, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, I need to find that creative that's gonna take me to the next level. I need
Yeah.
to test more. I need to just test more and test more and test more. What will you tell that person so that you can take them to the next level?
Yeah. I think 2 things. One, I understand why you're doing that. You're just saying, hey, as long as I launch new ads, my results get good, and I'll just keep needing to launch new ads. Because when you launch a new ad, the first couple of days are good. I would say, and this is completely inaccurate, but the 7th most common question I ever get asked, well, you're not true, but who knows? I haven't done the math on how often I get asked questions, but it's like, why do my results look great for the first few days and then die off? And it's like, well, because the new ad, Facebook's going to push it out to people. The problem is, if your entire business is built on that initial rush, it's not sustainable. So your frame of mind, that frame of reference, comes from the wrong place. And where it comes from is, there's a lot of people that started advertising like 2016, 2018, that got really good. And they realized they were being underpaid and overworked and undervalued by their employees, so their employers. So they started their own ad agency, and then they hired their friends and repeated the cycle of abuse. And we're generations deep of people being overworked, poorly trained, and underpaid to like make an ad agency work, because it's a high margin, low, and low cost business, right? Which is great for business model. The point of it is the best thinking hasn't really evolved. And at the time, 2016, the people that were coming up were being trained by folks who were great at CRO and email and search and display and programmatic advertising, where this is absolutely how you should be thinking, because distribution of your ads is random. So when you are running something like that, and 10 years ago when you were running an ad, the reason you needed to target was because it was random distribution inside of that audience. You had no idea who was going to see the ad. It was all about bidding for CPMs and all of that stuff. So what you did is you say, hey, I don't want it to be random. I'm going to try to narrow this randomness down to this one specific audience. And we got affinity audiences, and we got act-alike audiences. And then like within a year, Facebook had lookalike and interest groups. This was like 2013. Because at the time, Facebook was basically just Google Display. The point is, in 2018, Facebook changed. But the way that people think didn't. And some of the most common and popular thinkers and people that teach how to think about Facebook never learned the lesson that Facebook is not random distribution. It's, and for those that are nerdy, I'm going to get nerdy for a second. It's a game theory economy built on the currency of attention. Basically, people see the stuff they want to see. Attention is earned. So the point of all of this is to say, where that testing style comes from is initial, non-scalable, non-projectable results that people chase, followed by a methodology that comes, that is the etymology of that methodology. That's a weird sentence. The etymology of that methodology comes from something that isn't how the platform works. So you have this execution logic and framework and theory that basically has no bearing on the tool that you're using. So it's a very long-winded way of getting to the point, but I wanted to give that context for that person that's trying to do it. If you know that Facebook is a machine learning algorithm, what are you teaching it? And what priority are you giving on teaching it to do that job better? Anybody can get lucky. Anybody can get lucky a couple times. The people that are good don't need luck to outperform the lucky people basically every day. So, like I said, that ad that got lucky and ended up spending $2 million happened because it sat on top of a mountain of very well-constructed data that's basically just day in, day out, teaching the machine to go after the right people. And then what was luck was, and completely random, was what ad happened to pop off. But the fact that we had an ad that did pop off was completely not random. That is absolutely repeatable and that is manufacturable by anybody. So my point to all of this is, and a very if I can kind of summarize it, because I know I've gone on like 2 soliloquies, is this. The way to build a successful ad is to give the machine enough data to understand who to show your ads to. A really dumb ad will outperform a really smart ad far more often, because the really dumb ad is a lot smarter with the data that it references. An ugly ad will outperform the world's most beautiful video if the ugly ad's sitting on 1,000 or 10,000 or $1 million of ad spend, and that video launches where basically it has nothing. And so yeah, it's preparation and opportunity. So then success is just an output of that math equation.
What happens if I launch an ad, right, with, following your premise, and it got a couple sales here and there, and then it starts to dip? And by the way, I'm launching this ad under, a broad scenario. So,
Sure.
for the audience, broad means no interests, no specific age, gender, like demographics are completely off. And you just let the algorithm choose who to serve your ad based on the data you serve them. So using broad targeting and using your method of dynamic creative testing.
Yep.
I'm testing a new ad, right? And it got a couple sales. It's starting to dip. What should I do if it's not performing too well, knowing that it got sales before? Should I turn it off or should I leave it on to have more data?
Yeah. First off, if the ad does well or doesn't do well, I don't care. How's the campaign doing? And more importantly, how is your business doing because you're spending money there?
Right.
Success and failure, or if an ad is good or bad, is based purely on attribution. That if it is based purely on attribution, then it's what gets credit as the last touch point. That doesn't matter. And what I'd be more interested in is when that ad earns more spend, what happens to my bank account? And more importantly, if my biggest problem is that when I look at my PSM, I can afford to spend more money on the acquisition of revenue, then I don't have a problem. I just need to spend more money. Like, I don't need to optimize my ads and increase my budget. Like, those are two completely separate moves. And if you do one, you don't do the other. Because ultimately, too, if your budget's $100 a day, and that ad does great for the first few days and then kind of drops off, and then it's spending like $5 a day or something like that, and you're like, oh man, this ad sucks, I'm going to turn it off. But your performance is good. What happens when you scale that and it goes to 150, 200, 500, 1,000 a day? That ad might actually do really good when you're spending a couple $100s a day, because the other ads that are earning all the spend that look really good, they might not be able to scale with that business. And ultimately, the low-hanging fruit that those ads are really good at converting, there is a law of diminishing returns at how much they can grow. So how much work can an ad do? If I have to do $100 a day of work, one ad might be able to take 80, another ad takes 15, and then the third ad takes 5. If I have to do $500 a day of work, one ad might take 300, another might take 150. Well, the other one is still necessary, and it might take $50 a day. The point is, in the way that Facebook delivers those ads, if the net result is my blended CPA across my business that goes into my equation of PSM means that I can spend more money, then that ad is doing its job. And the easiest way of looking at it is something I call 4PI analysis. But if your ad has a low budget and a really high CPM, and then you go to break down by day and you see the frequency is high and the conversion CPA is great, awesome. That's a retargeting ad. Oftentimes I'll see ads where the CPM is really low, the daily frequency is really low, and the cost is really high. And Facebook, and people are like, why is Facebook spending so much money on this bad ad? Well, because that ad is growing your entire funnel.
Top of funnel ad.
Yeah, it's a top of funnel ad. Even at broad, there's prospecting, there's mid funnel, there's bottom funnel. And at the end of the day, do you care about how that ad performs on Facebook? If it's bad on Facebook, but you notice that as a result of that ad getting more spend, your bank account goes up because your organic search and your email improves. Well, no, that's a good ad. But to answer your point of what if that ad doesn't get spend or it starts to perform poorly, I'm not in a rush to try to fix a problem that doesn't exist. If my business is doing well, and the biggest liability to my growth is the fact I'm not spending enough of the margin that I'm making on every dollar that I spend, well, I just need to increase my budget. And the easiest way of looking at this is like, ask yourself each week, can I increase my budget by 5%? If the answer is yes, do it. 5% a week over a year is 3x growth. Now, if you do 5% a couple times a week, you can grow a lot faster. But the point is, like, if you're stuck at 500 a day and you want to get to 1,500 a day, just spend 5% more next week. And anything that gets in the way of that, remove it. And anything that isn't broken, don't try to go fix it. So my point to all of that is, I think people look at the ads as a source of results.
Yeah.
And that is so wildly off base. The ad is buying the attention. The source of results is how good you are at monetizing it and how good your business model is at maximizing the value of that monetization. And ultimately, if the ad does spend a lot and your bank account goes down, well, then that ad is bad. And in that case, that's a lot easier to identify than an ad that doesn't spend a lot that looks bad. Like, if it doesn't spend a lot and it looks bad, well, if it's not spending a lot, Facebook's already kind of optimizing it out. So what's the problem?
Right.
So to ask myself this question, if I can spend more money, I don't have a problem that I need to fix with creative testing or optimizing my ads.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I completely agree with that.